I'm a wine man, you know, so that when they wine, because then they give beer, and the beer in Japan is good because they learned that from the Germans. They taught them how to make beer, you know. When the Grazia, man.
Oh yeah, that Kirin. That's a good beer.
Kirin,
Dry.
Sapporo.
Yeah, Sapporo, it's like dry. I like it's like it's not like that like the Guinness or the Irish, you know, the
That's more than the, you know how they made that Guinness? You'll never believe it. They were making normal beer, you know, in Ireland, and somehow they goofed up, and they got they burned the thing, you know, like when you brew it.
Yeah.
And they burned the barley, you know, that was in there, so when they get, what's the matter, you're okay?
Yeah. Oh, I'm just listening.
No, because I don't get the cigars.
No, it's good.
So, you know, they burned, but they used it anyway, and that's how they made Guinness. That's the
Interesting.
by a mistake, they discovered how to make Guinness. You
Well,
know?
that's it. That's like
Stout they go.
it's like penicillin. It was
Yeah,
by accident.
yeah. Well, sometimes it's that way.
Yeah, I think we should do the Karl Gotch comedy hour. What is it you say? You say the guy is not. He's only good for making a good meal, making shit out of a good meal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but that's just sayings, you know. In my neighborhood, that's normal.
see, is this like a water? Is this like a tattoo they'd have on the waterfront?
No,
No.
you know, the day I had one. Well, she could talk about that, you know. I had a friend, and he was living in our country a long time. It was Finn, you know, Finn descent. Big, strong bastard, you know, with a mustache. And he always used to wear a turtleneck sweater because he had a snake around his thing, you know, around his neck. Tattooed.
Wow.
And we were all over the ship and the castles, and, you know. So one day, you know, I got him drunk. I said, "Hey, Wino," you know, that's his name. There's no Wino, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wino, because the Wino
Kitonin, yeah, wrestler.
Wino Kitonin. That's the name, Wino.
Same name, I see.
Yeah, but when I say Wino, you know, you thought of it.
I thought of somebody who drinks a lot of wine. Yeah.
No. I said, "Hey, Wino," I said, how come, you know, you did, when I loosened him up, you said, because he always told me, and my father, in all family said, none of it had a tattoo. My father had only three little balls here, you know, like this, 3 little spots, because my father was an atheist, and he was the mason of the buffaloes, and that was the sign of it. The tree, like a tree corner.
It was a sign of what?
They belonged to it.
But what does it have to do with buffaloes?
That was the name of it, the buffaloes.
The buffaloes?
Yeah.
And they were all atheists?
And it was a thing like Freemasons, you know.
Yeah.
There was a thing that they believed. It was not in our country, it was in England.
In England, and they called themselves the Buffaloes?
Buffaloes. They had the thing like it was in a frame, like a certificate, you know, like a diploma.
Huh.
My father was a guy too.
Now, he was the one who did he put you in the wrestling, or was it your mom?
Grandfather.
Your grandfather?
My father wasn't at home, and my grandfather, he liked wrestling, you know, and he was a good friend from the old time that I got still some old little book from it. Christmas, he was a national hero, and in the local, he called him Apollo. He was really well built and everything too, and they were good friends. They came from the same neighborhood. And well, I was always in trouble, you know, on the street and so. And the neighborhood there, you fight a lot, everything. You got a discussion. The parents said, "They'll let them fight," but they figured out you're on your own there, you know. Nobody like here, and they bother, and they cannot say that, you know, if you did something wrong, you got a good whacking here. You have child abuse, my ass. Over like if you get something wrong in school, the school teachers, because when I went to school, they used to call it hell, number 4, and then the cobble street. And all the school teachers were like 6 foot, 200 pounds, because some of those boys were big, and they had to be. But if you got worked over by the school teacher, they know that he didn't do it for fun. He had to do it because, you know, to make an impression, to get the other kids to listen.
Yeah.
So I just imagine you got, you know, like around 20, between 20 or 30 of them little son of a bitches, you know, and they're sitting there, and you know, you can see the devil in their face, and you know, you're standing in front of it, and you got them, you know, to teach for the day, or every other day, every hour, in the 5th grade, then we get a teacher change. They sent one a school teacher, a woman, you know, you know, she had a nervous breakdown in about 7 days. Had to get her out. He couldn't manage that. If you got it in school, you hope they didn't find out at that. They're like, now, if you go like this to a kid.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah. You know, that time, if they found out at home that you got worked over by the school teacher, you get another one coming from your own
right, because you deserved it, is what they thought.
You bastard, you must have done because otherwise you wouldn't do that. Now, that's why, you know, here in America, hey, believe me, I love the States. And I came here, and I think to me it's the greatest country in the world. But the States, America, is bad. The reason for that is too much of the good is bad. It's not the States that is bad, America is bad, the possibility and everything. But the people, I said it wrong, the people are bad.
Yeah.
The more they got, the more they want. And nothing is good enough.
Give an inch, take a mile.
Oh, 10 miles.
So you think that purring is all work?
They don't do that anymore now. That's.
I want to find out.
You don't even like now. They say this and that, and they say that school that tape. I laughed, and you know, see, that's why I hate. You know, like you say, oh, we can take this and this. In a way, I don't like it because for this reason. This thing, that tape that you sent me, that's a farce. It's a farce.
The guys in Europe.
Yeah, because, you know, I looked, never did they give justice what justice is due. In the olden days, there was an old guy there, I never met him, but I heard about him. And he did the same like Grubmeyer did here. You know, and that's why I'm so surprised.
Yeah, I thought you'd get a kick out of that catch wrestling documentary, just because there was so much about Wigan, and you've done so much to popularize Wigan.
I'm the one that put it on the map. Yeah. Nobody even know about Wigan.
No, that's true.
And then I tell you...
Same with catch wrestling in general. Nobody would know about it if it wasn't for you. It would be dead. Completely dead.
The greatest guys... Like I told you, Riley came here, right?
Yeah, we're the Americans.
Which is only natural. See, when the New World was discovered, they came here. The British, they went up north because before this here, before it became United States, it was a British colony.
Yeah.
Like they had India and all that because they were big sea, and they were both big seafarers. The British and the Spanish.
Yeah.
And there was another one too, the Dutch. For a little country, they had a lot of colonies too.
Oh, really?
Holland? Oh, yeah. They had a lot, you know, because they were seafarers too. They went everywhere. And they're the first ones to invent the Marines, the Dutch. Because you say, they couldn't get with so many ships and loads and send soldiers there and leave. They had to get the soldiers and the ship at the same time. So they trained and also some of the men, you know, on the board of the ship. That's where the idea of the Marines came from them. And they're big merchants, my guys. Yeah. Now you think for a moment when they came here.
But wait a minute. So you know what's interesting is that in that whole documentary, they never once mentioned Pop Sharnock.
And he was the one that started. Riley, run from Charlotte. And Riley, it's all Riley. And he gets there, and he sits there, and he has a hat, and he's well dressed. You should have seen him, like I told you before, right? Oh, and he was, and when you see him, that you know what gives him away. You know, you see those kids coming in the gym, and they all giving something to him. That's where he's sitting from. He was such a tight, cheap son of a bitch, you know. Because that was the 2-in-6 they had to give to the wrestle there. And you know, and everybody talked that the sheets were so black, you know, the canvas.
Yeah.
Raw. That was the only thing that was clean in that gym. It was always very clean. That's how much they know about. They want to make it like it was so tough.
Yeah.
You know why it was clean? Every week.
Trachoma.
No, every week they knew about trachoma. He knew it from America. But every week, that I have to give him credit for. But he could got to do it for free. Like saying, we got a gym and you're well known.
Okay.
And they know you. You know, you got your way around in the hospital. So every week, you know, they clean everything and they disinfect everything. So every week they used to they had 2 sheets then. They take it off and they get it because it was done for free. See, and then everybody go, oh, the sheet's so black, that full of shit. Because that was the only thing that was spotless. And you talk about the cold shower. No, the shower was hot because we paid for it. I dig the line with them to get the connection with the water, and they installed the shower, and they made the thing then, the heater for the water.
What about Wino Katonen? Well, I've heard
Wino
a couple,
Katonen.
People talk about him.
It was great.
Was he here in the States? Was he a carnival guy, or where did he work?
They did matches like that. See, I told you how they wrestled in the States, right? They had the best of everything. Well, it's that simple. All right. Like I told you, this was a colony from the British, right? The British Empire. So, you know, North America was, right?
Yeah, so you had all the best wrestlers from all over the world come here.
Thing came here, the Brits were first here.
Mm-hmm.
But then other people immigrated, and they all brought something with them.
Yeah.
They all brought something. It's just like me. I came from Belgium. You know, we're as an amateur. Greco lost. Freestyle, they weren't too clever at it. They said, do Greco and grab a leg or try the triple. Because they had no...
Yeah.
But me, I don't know what it was. Somehow, I always look at when I like something, I try to find out everything about it.
Yeah.
And I used to dream from this thing because I heard about the Americans and how great the Americans were in every division. And I had a very good friend later, and he was one of the guys that's mentioned in the book too. His name was Benny Sherman.
Yeah, Ben Sherman. Yeah, I've always heard good things about him, being a great wrestler.
And the one thing Benny had on top of that, he was not a big guy. He was maybe about 80, 85 kilos, you know. About that much shorter than me.
Stocky.
But no, not good build, you know. But he was a fanatic about conditioning. And he loved wrestling. He went on his own to Turkey. On his own, just because he had nobody to work out with.
Wow.
But you see, when the Americans, when they come, like the British came to think that they got all the influence from all the other people that immigrated, and instead of Lancashire catch, they didn't call it Lancashire catch anymore, they go American catch is catchy. Well, you live in the States, so am I. I'm here 45 years. When I went back home, they said, no, you're not the Belgian, you're the American.
Mm-hmm.
They talked to me, say, hey, Yankee. But they said, hey, where I come from, you gotta watch that. This is why. I said, those are fighting words. I said, you call me a Johnny Red, fine. I said, you call me a Yankee, so I'll punch you. They're right. So, they had everybody here to get there. So I told you, Riley he was supposed to come here, but he didn't have Joe Robbie with him to do the work for him.
Yeah.
No, he was on his own, and they say he was so great. 2 months he was back, and it took him over 2 weeks to sail up and down. You know, over the week.
Sure.
From England to get to Luther.
So he pretty much sailed here, checked things out, and then got right back on the boat and headed back.
I think he got on the boat. That's what I think, because he never. But he always thought, oh, America. Then he talked to him, but he never said what happened to him or nothing. You know, because he was an inconceived bastard. I take it as it is. So what?
You win some, you lose some, yeah.
But the thing is, learn, pick up. All right, you may beat me now. You ain't gonna beat me forever because I'm gonna be on your ass.
Right.
That's my goal now.
Right.
How did you beat me? Then next time, if you beat me 2 times or 3 times the same way, I say, hey, something's wrong here.
You gotta fix it, yeah.
Get off your ass, asshole. Watch what the hell is going on here. So, you know. They had everything bad here. So when all this thing came, they had in every division. So they used to go around. I told you how they went around and it took 70% of the thing, didn't I tell you?
Yeah.
So, well, there you go. And then the promoters got greedy. And they got in. And that was the end of the wrestling. First they got rid of the top shooters. And then they got the guys, but they couldn't control them either because they were good wrestlers too. So they got rid of them too, and they got only showmen. So
guys like Wino Katonen and Fred Grubmeyer, I mean, were they in that era where they were making their money from bets, from side bets and I see.
Grubmeyer used to travel around, just like I told you, Joe Daly used to do.
Who?
Joe Daly.
Daly?
See, they don't even mention him in that day. You know, Joe Daly, he was from around there too, you know, the Wigan, this and that. But they wrestled on their own. They didn't. Riley made the club because then he could get the money from it. Charnock had the club, but he didn't care. Because he had. They don't mention Charnock, they don't mention Joe Daly, and Charnock had 3 guys. The Wigan bunch didn't want to know about it. So one guy wrestled him. The guy that you see him in the picture, just a short man. He was a good friend of mine. His name was Joe Robinson's brother. His name was Bob Robinson.
Bob Robinson.
And he was fairly big. So Bob had his thing that was Billy Joyce. So Bill Robinson came later. But Riley was already gone down and everything.
Yeah.
So he went up there, but he wrestled around Manchester, an amateur. Then he went up to Wigan, but there was nothing there anymore. They were all gone, you know, like, he died out, you know, because now when I went there, I saw that gym, and that guy with wood, they talk about submissions, and a bar. It's not a bar, it's submission.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not on a bar, it's just like this on your arm. You know, the worst ones you got, you know, the hardest, but once you control them, you got is your shoulder and your hip. The knee is very sensitive, and an ankle, woof.
Yeah, I've seen some of the ways that Fujiwara shows how to do the ankle locks and the...
You learn from it. They did not elbow from their asshole. Those jabs, they talked about it. Well, when I went there, I had to prove it too.
Yeah.
So they had those guys like sumo guys, judo guys, karate guys, and then they're wrestling, you know, they were amateurs. And wow.
So that Saranaka, or whatever his name is, Soranaka?
Yeah, he went there because he was married to my daughter. He died of cancer. about 15 years ago.
But he wasn't that good as a wrestler. Fujiwara was good. Suzuki was good.
Suzuki, but Suzuki's not a teacher either. He was better than Fujiwara. Fujiwara used to stutter real bad.
Yeah.
So, and then he wants to talk. Say,
well, you know he's a big actor now, right?
no, it's just some rinky-dink little things that he get there, try to make a living.
Yeah.
So everything what they get from something for, they say how big it is, how good they are. They're just the opposite from what I do, what I think.
Exaggerate, huh?
Yeah, you see, they always, like where I come from, they always say they make a thunder out of a fart. We know when they say, if I did some more, you're good, well, just have that thunder on the floor.
Yeah, I'm okay.
So,
Steady.
I cut it down, I bring it down. Now, if it doesn't click or then they go, oh yeah, well, he didn't say much. Now, if it does, then they say, God damn it, the guy's good.
So probably Fujiwara, Fujinami, Kido, Suzuki, those are the good guys. But guys like Soranaka,
He knows about
Inoki.
Inoki, I'll tell you the story with Inoki, did I tell you?
Yeah.
Oh, I changed him. He thought because he hung around with an old Jap, I was friendly with him, he was a nice old guy. But the old guy thought that he could wrestle. Those Japs are always like that. Once they're nice when they're here, up to here, you understand what I mean?
Status, social status.
Yeah, nice. Now, when they start to know something a little bit, when they get here, then they're over there. then when they're here, you're on even level with them. When they get a little bit here, then they want to put you down there. They try to throw you. They don't try on the dirt, they try to throw you in a hole. That's what the Japs are all that way.
What about that Sayama, Tiger Mask guy, Sayama? No good.
These things are what a conceited bastard. And he's dishonest, and they all use my name. And
yeah, that's why I ask you, because they all,
You know why? Because you got goddamn son of a bitches like you. You like me and you push me, and then when you wouldn't talk about me or nothing, and there was nothing about me, then they would have mentioned me.
Yeah.
But now because you push me, that's why I don't like to be.
Yeah.
Now they want to jump on the bandwagon.
On the bandwagon, like Fury and those assholes.
And another one.
So the good guys are Fujiwara, Suzuki, Kido, Fujinami. Okay. Yeah, I like watching those Suzukis. I like watching his matches. He's tough.
He had a lot of guts. From all the guys all the chaps I had, he was the gutsiest of them all.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You're okay now?
Excellent. Thank you. Us crazy Californians, I came out in a t-shirt. That's all I came with.
Always remember, how it looks is not how it is. You got the sun out there, but what do you think I'm sitting in a tracksuit? I got nothing underneath, just a tracksuit.
But it's long sleeve.
Yeah.
So now, but you're also, because I remember you saying that you and Fez had in common, like, Hungarian.
Well, there was a guy, and I was surprised, he was a Belgian. He was a fairly good singer, and his name is Helmut Lotti. Maybe you heard his song. He was on television, for an hour, But he said, well, I think, I'm from Belgium, but I think I'm from Slavic. Well, in Belgium, and especially in Antwerp, and the Wallonie part too, because there came a lot of guys that work in the mine from all nationalities. But in Antwerp, my mother was German descent and my father was Hungarian. So I'm Hungarian and German mixed, but I'm Flemish.
Yeah.
You got that. In the neighborhood where I lived when we went to school, you know, and in the morning to see if all the kids are there, when you call roll call,
Yeah.
they say that to see if they're all present. It was like a foreign legion. So there were all nationalities there.
Did you, when you talked to Ed Lewis, did you guys talk in German, or did you? Yeah.
He spoke fluent German and he liked it. He came here, but his mother and father were from Germany. His father was from Dienheim and his mother was from Mannheim. That's on the Rhine River.
He was a tough guy, huh?
Nobody could touch him. See, this abuse, he hung around him a little bit. So then the old man was, because easy come, easy go, he was down on his luck, you know. So we took him down like he was his, you know, to get in the ring with him. So because he took advantage of the publicity from because everybody still remembers Ed Lewis. You know.
Yeah.
Him, and when they were around him, and there was another guy that was with him, he was a sharpie. He's the one that made all the finishes and everything. And he was a tough son of a bitch. Him and Lewis were like even Steven, almost. So, and his name was Tootsmont.
Tootsmont, yeah.
Oh,
Hey.
he was the brain. He made all what wrestling became then, but then they got too far out. He was the one.
He's the one who turned into the money making.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was from Greeley, Colorado. Like, didn't he have like kind of a cowboy thing? Like he used to wear a cowboy hat, kind of.
He was German descent too, Munt. Yeah. Josef Munt is his real name.
I mean, why is it that everybody... I mean, Luthez had to at least be able to wrestle okay. No? I don't know that he was like the best ever or a hook wrestler, but...
He couldn't hook. He couldn't hook.
Do you think... Because he tells a story, I read his book, and he tells a story about he spent time with Ad Santel, you know, you think that's bullshit?
When I was over in thinking, what do you call that, Los Angeles?
Mm-hmm.
Santel, you know, he came to see me, and he wanted me to come to his place. He lived there.
Now, was Santel German?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what his real name is?
Boy, I think I do, Ernst.
Adolf Ernst.
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 Yep.
Adolf Ernst.
Okay. Yeah, that's about as German as you can get. So he came to see you, and you went to L.A. and you guys hung out?
I was there with that guy that was God damn, he was a Greek, funny bastard, you know.
A Greek?
Yeah, the promoter at that time, he died a long time ago. He wanted to talk to me, you know, very bad, you know, I never made it, you know, sometime. But I got called and I went to Japan and from there on.
Yeah. The rest is history. But, so, I mean, you don't think that Fez trained with Ad Santel? I mean, it's hard to say. But.
They use that, listen, you know why I know that? How many guys have said that they worked out with me and trained with me?
Yeah, a million. Tons of guys. Japanese guys.
No, here Americans doing everything, and in Europe, I never saw them.
Yeah.
Maybe I met them somewhere and said, oh yeah, like one guy said, he said, hey, yeah, remember me? I said, maybe, I said, I forgot. You have seen a guy somewhere, and he said, oh, hello, very oh, fine. Then he worked out with you. You just shake hands. Believe me, there weren't too many guys that liked to work out with me.
Yeah.
You know,
pretty rough, huh?
No. Before that, I wouldn't do nothing. I said, come on, follow me. And do the conditioning already back then.
So you picked some of that up from the conditioning stuff from some Iranian people. Is that right? Iran?
Yeah. You know, but it was actually the guy that first that I got the thing from. The clubs I got from there, so, but you know, the squats.
Yeah.
And the push-ups. You know, and then some rope climbing they do. The rings I got in from back home. But the Hindu squats, Hindu push-ups, there was an old guy. And he was very, very tough in his days. He had wrestled in the days with Gamma. He belonged to the bunch of Gamma. And his name was Akrar Azul. And I met him he was old. And I met him in England. All the guys I met, well, I'm 81 myself, but they're all gone.
So, you remember that tape I sent you of the Indian workouts? That's kind of the same thing, right? Like the guy's just doing
He does what I do.
Yeah.
Or I should say, I do what they do.
Yeah.
It's actually more fair. What do you say?
You know, I was doing them so wrong. I was doing the squats. You know how when you do the squat with the weight, with the heavy bar? I was doing it like that and doing high reps. I got up to 400 or 500. I was like, no problem, cool. And then I saw that video with the Indian people doing it, and they go all the way down, and they raise their heels. I can do 100, and my legs are killing me.
And then you gotta, when you do them on your heels and flat, you can't do them flat for two or on your heels, on your toes, on your heels, on your toes.
Yeah.
And then you do it, jump about that far.
Jump. Oh, I can't even do those.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I had to totally start over because I thought I was doing something, and then I tried to do them all the way down, and I did the first time I could only do 50. And I was doing 500 of the normal, you know, the way the power lifters do the squats. I did 500. I thought I was doing something, and I did the ones where you go all the way down. I could do 50.
What do you work on? So your weightlifter, he just didn't go for the weight. When you work for wrestling, you work for circular movements. Everything straight doesn't work. You know, like curls, no. Like you do a push-up, you do them right here. You know, the ordinary, no, you do them.
Yeah, everything you in wrestling is a circle.
Because it's like this, like this, like this. So actually to get it, when you work good in wrestling, you work in a bowl. You know, like a bowl is? A bowl.
Yeah, okay.
That's a circle from all angles.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I train.
Because almost like when you grab somebody's leg, you don't grab it straight on and move forward. You grab and circle around to the side and take them that way instead of just going straight. Like you see in a lot of the amateur wrestling, the guys grab the leg and go straight.
When you go for a double leg,
yeah,
that's a sucker hole. I only used to do that when a guy didn't want to do nothing with me.
But you do what? A single leg, right?
Single.
Yeah. When
outside.
Outside, you grab it and you circle outside.
No, I don't circle.
No?
No. When I get your leg from the outside, now, there is your foot, here is my foot, right?
Mm.
Now I move my foot away.
And dump the guy.
And because...
Towards the leg that you have. If I pick up, he's standing here, I pick up this leg, I step this way, away from the leg that you have, right?
You turn your body just that way.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't move too much. Every time you move, you lose time. And you lose balance. When you work in wrestling, it's a little bit like mathematics. See? You got it?
Yeah.
Get the ashes out. Boy, I have to teach you how to smoke cigar.
I'm telling you, Carl, I'm learning wrestling and I'm learning cigars. And plum wine.
I got to give him credit for one thing. He had guts.
Yeah.
He went in when those guys came over from the Gracies.
Yeah.
You know, and he did. But he thinks judo is, when he was with me, he changed his idea pretty fucking fast. Listen, judo, you know, I told him, I said, I only put on a pajama when I go to bed.
I make my living as a financial mathematician. I make my living that way, and I pursue wrestling because I love it, because it's my passion, and I want to know about it, you know?
Well, let me tell you about wrestling. Because he said, oh, push it, oh, he wants to pull him over it. I know. In judo, I took the best judo guys and I snuffed them up like nothing.
In Japan.
Yeah. And you know, and the karate guys and everybody, even the sumo guys and so, but they screamed like a bastard because they push, and you're out the thing.
Yeah.
They got tremendous balance. They're real fast for a big man, but and then it's over. After 2-3 minutes, their tongue hanging out of their asshole. So the guy tried to push me. He said, "Yeah." I said, "No, it's not over." I said, "Bullshit, kills on the floor." So you know, when I face lock them, because they talk about the face lock, you know, in these tape you sent me here.
Yeah.
The guys that were showing it, they didn't know how to put on a face lock.
Fujiwara knows. You showed Fujiwara how to do it.
Yeah, but you know, you don't push like this. You just flip up your wrist just like that, and that's it.
And you use kind of this.
Yeah. And I get it down, you slide in here.
Mm-hmm.
When you got it in, now I got this here. And I just do this and I hold you, and your asshole opens up for the 5 to 2. Well, that is nothing. That's only a preparation. Because like I told you, standing up, you know, an arm bar, I do that. I got you between that. Just push your arm in, I get it like this, in my chest on your arm.
Yeah, and then extend the arm.
Yeah, but that's nothing. This all down. That's what I do. And
so you don't do any of the hooks standing, you do all the hooks
it's
on the ground.
impossible.
Yeah.
There is no hook standing.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
That's why I always told you, bulls get killed on the floor. The reason why I do that, when you got the bull and he stands up, he ain't gonna go nowhere with you, but he's dangerous, huh? But once you got the bull bound to slaughter, when he goes in, you go and watch in the slaughterhouse. I went there one time. Made me sick because I love animals, but that's their living. Those guys, they think nothing of it. And he had a friend that worked in the slaughterhouse, and he asked me to come one time, so I did. But I never want to go again. And now with the pigs, oh.
Hey, by the way, because I know about your your passion for animals. So, I tell you, because I work doing kind of, you know, like actuarial data, you know, like life insurance tables and stuff. So I know that, I anticipate that you're going to be around another 20 years, 25 years, okay? So you got to do your best to work at that. But
I hope that's one time in my life that I ain't gonna start here, but I hope you're right.
Okay,
but
okay.
I don't think you will.
I think I am. But in the worst case scenario, it's not. The way we are doing now with that tape, you know, and I send you the money or whatever. Someday when you know you're pushing up daisies or whatever, if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is send that money to Pitbull Rescue.
What I got, you know, the little bit that I got left.
Yeah.
It's for the animals.
Okay.
Society.
Is that okay that I do that?
For sure.
Okay, because I think that's something that both you and I agree on, and I think this girl that I'm with, I'll probably end up marrying her, and she's very passionate about Pitbull Rescue too. So I think it's something that could be very, very good for the animals. But I just wanted to get your kind of, you know, blessing for that.
Yeah. So now we go back to wrestling to talk about wrestling.
Yeah.
You don't think wrestling, they all think, you know, you pull this and that.
Yeah, you were saying it's all circular.
That's it. And then there's just the biggest thing that you gotta do.
Circular, it's like circular and like mathematics.
And then how do you study wrestling? When you got to start wrestling, when I teach wrestling on a guy, he has to do condition first. A truck or a Rolls Royce. A Rolls Royce is the best car, right?
Has to have gas.
No gas, no oil, no water, that's a condition. So that's the same with the wrestling. If you got no condition, you're tired. When you're tired, you can't think.
Yep.
When it's all down the drain.
Yep.
So when you use this, how long are you gonna last? 3 to 5 minutes the most, right?
Yeah.
And after 3 minutes already, the strongest guy is already going down. Well, you saw it.
That's why they changed the rules of wrestling to make the periods now. These it used to be long periods, like 12 minutes, right?
That's not long, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
It used to be in my days 20.
Wow.
And then even before that, you had to wrestle until there was a result. I said, you know.
What do you think about it nowadays? They do this wrestling, but no pins. I think pins should be in it. Pins and submissions.
Yeah. See, when you got no pin, then you got those pricks like Gracie. He's laying on his back.
Yeah.
You know, when they told me, I looked, I said, yeah, he got guts. You know, I said, but he's not a wrestler.
Right.
So they told me, they said, no. I said, what's he doing? He waits for you to stick it in. There's only 2 things that he does. You know, he choke you, or when he get an arm bar sometime.
Yep.
I said, yeah. I said, when a guy lay like that on the mat, I said, hey, he does 50% of my job. He's already laying down.
Yeah.
I said, the worst thing I had was that when I had a guy and he knew about me and he said that bastard was running away all the time. That's when I did a lousy leg dive and I went down and the guy went behind me, he thought, well, I got you. And now he was in my territory.
you did a fake.
And you know, when you get a guy that can hook from underneath, you got a dangerous bastard because look, when I'm underneath, yeah, I can't work your head because you're on top of me, right? But you have to stick in your arms and legs
Right.
to hit somebody.
Get a leg, get an arm.
And once you stick them in, especially your legs.
There's a guy, a Japanese guy, who does that exact same thing, that Sakuraba. You heard of him? He does that same thing. He always gets guys on his back, and he gets the hooks from underneath like that. He gets on all fours, and they put the legs or the arms in, and he gets like a double wrist lock or all kinds of different things from that position.
The Japs, they didn't know nothing till I got there.
Yeah.
And then they learned, you know, because they all learned from guys that I taught.
Yeah.
So I'm happy because it didn't go to waste. But now when you start wrestling, what's the first thing you think about?
After conditioning? You mean actual wrestling? Well, I think about getting a grip on the guy.
When you step on the mat, you study. Now your mathematics comes in. You know, when you stand, your left and right foot, you got them not too far, not too close. You get that in, say that you can move. You got one leg out as a soccer leg.
Right. Sugarfoot.
That you cover with your thing. But then what the most important thing is, that's what before you start wrestling you learn that, is your balance. And your balance comes from this. You line of balance and your point of gravity. Your line of balance goes from your left foot to your right.
Yeah.
And your point of gravity comes from the center of your body, you know, like
to the ground. From your balls.
You know, from there, in between the center.
Yeah.
Now, when you got that, when you work from the top, you get in. What is it that you do? You don't use strength, you use leverage. And your leverage doesn't work if you don't have the point of your fulcrum right.
Yeah.
I had to think because I had to look those words up in the dictionary because I didn't know how to say it. Then I never went to school for anything. You know,
sure.
I learned everything by myself and on the street. So the guy said, "Yeah, you give me your lever and I'll move the world." I said, "Yeah, that's what Archimedes said." I said, "But the Greek son of a bitch," he said, "he didn't tell you where to put the fulcrum." I said, you can't have a liver. And he said, yeah, if I got a liver. I said, you can have a liver from here to kingdom come. I said,
Yeah,
and your fulcrum. And the fulcrum isn't in the right place. I said, you can't move nothing. I said, I just have a liver from about a meter or a meter 20, you know, just from here to there. And I put it right. I said, I'll move your ass.
Yeah.
And I said, that's what I'm doing.
So you make sure you have your balance right, and that when you know your point of gravity, then you can move that guy fairly easily to the ground.
You say when he pushes, you're moving. I didn't move. I just moved my legs, you know, knees and they were pushing. They had one guy, and he was a big, strong guy, a sumo guy. He said, all right, let's push. And he went, no. I said, you push like this.
Yeah.
Now we push in, if you go from arm to arm, you know, like this, like in training professionally. I said, now push with all you got. I run his ass around the gym like it was a baby. I said, where are you now? I said, you blow. I went, think. I said, if I sidestep, you run right in the wall. And that's where it comes in.
And the same things standing up kind of apply when you take them to the ground.
Standing up is nothing, because, like I told you, you bring them to the ground, now you got them. But you got to watch. In the old days, they had some guys that were very good from underneath. Yeah, they didn't work no crooked head scissors or face locks or whatever. But your arms and your legs, and which is the most sensitive part of your body?
Probably your face. No.
Your ankle. I put your ankle and I go like this, 2 fingers. And your eyes all over so far, you turn a 5-ton truck in there. It's very sensitive, and because the lip is very limited. And you can cripple a guy for life on his ankle, on his knee too. But when you get him in the knee lock and step over, you don't pull it back, you just lift up that heel and get in. You got to watch that. Because you'll be walking with a cane for the rest of his life. You rip all the ligaments. You know, this is what you need when you get wrestling. It really makes a man. It makes him think. And for wrestling, you got to have it all. A fighter is good on his feet, but as in any other combat sport, just standing up. But wrestling, you got 3 positions: standing up, you got the guy down, and you get from underneath. So that. When they only think for 30%, you got to do 110 when you wrestle.
And your favorite holds were always the toe holds.
I used to be very good with toe holds. I was good all around, you know, because if it wasn't, I go in and he lied up, poop, I switch to the front while I feinted for his arm, and he blocked. I already got a crooked edge. I was up and down all the time. And I worked from your right side to your left arm, and from your left leg to your right arm. They never knew what was coming. They hated it when they were all with me. Oh. And when I really had an eye opener, I was about between 10, 12 years old. And there were a couple of Americans that came over. And the name of the guy, one guy, he was a Lithuanian that moved to America. You know, but learned his wrestling here. And he had a guy with him, he was only like, say, pleasant, unpleasant weight like Santel, like a light heavyweight, you know. But the other guy was a full-fledged guy. They came to work out with us with the amateurs. That's where I really started thinking, wait a minute, there's more to this than just, you know, I was already thinking about technique, you know, how to hip throw and so. But I thought, oh, they were going through those amateurs like they were going through King Pie. You know, Karl Gotch was the old man, The younger guy, you know, the big guy was Philip Bartouche.
You also said that Bert Ozerati was good too. No?
He was a very good friend of mine. Bert was a limited wrestler, but he was
Strong.
very strong. You seen the picture of him?
Yeah, he's like...
Yeah, but...
His legs were like that.
Yeah, but, and he could move. He could do a somersault on a handkerchief. So he was fast. I wrestled with him, and they said to me, nobody can take him down. So they were all scared to death of him. I worked with him a lot, and I made a lot of money with him working.
Yeah.
So he liked me. Oh boy, he thought the world of me. So he said, when he talked with that Cockney accent, and he like rock and roll. Yeah, he said, the kid. I said, oh. He said, you always got no holes. He said, I think I got him. I said, oh. I said, and when I work with the other guys, they think I'm a fucking telephone book. They're pinching me all over. You know, like they go like this, like loosen up because it hurts you. He said, the kid never punches me. He said, one time, when the first time I wrestled him, I moved in, you know, it's like a bull news. I jerked on his head and I went back up, fended for his legs, and he get in, and I got his head. You know, so when I got his head, and he pulled off like that, I just switched his head, grabbed his leg, and pop! I hit the dick like a package.